These people and them don't care about us. They don't care about nobody.
Right Along Live.
I do this video here today as a concerned Caribbean man for our region. I am very, very concerned about what we see transpiring as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago and Venezuela. Now, I know a lot of people might say, why am I getting involved in Trinidad politics, Venezuelan politics? Why am I getting involved in that? But let me say it from the beginning. This is not Trinidad politics. This is regional. And this problem could affect and will affect us all if the worst end up happening. Let me bring you guys up to speed.
According to the Venezuelan government, they've captured criminals of Trinidadian origin who confessed to the alleged incursion. Caracas says the men's statements were duly supported with compelling evidence.
So Venezuela claim that some Trinidad nationals, and they claim that they have solid proof and confession from these Trinidad nationals who came across into Venezuelan territories armed and military ready to overthrow the government. In a nutshell, Venezuela said that they will have to enforce this so that we don't have that incursion happening. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister, newly elected for the second time around, Carmela Persad-Becesa, didn't hold her tongue when she responded.
Today I want to make it very clear to the Venezuelan government and officials that they can do whatever they want on Venezuelan territory, but they cannot come here. TNT territory is off limits to them. I will speak to Minister of Defense and the Attorney General to seek advice on protections for our Coast Guard, to use deadly force on any unidentified vessel entering TT waters from Venezuela. Smuggling military able-bodied men and women. TNT is off limits to them.
Now, this is very, very concerning for a number of reasons. And for people who understand and is paying attention, they would understand why this is concerning. Now, after that message by the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, Venezuela put out a bulletin.
In its statement, the Venezuelan government said the appropriate course of action would have been cooperation and willingness to clarify the facts, not confrontation. It said the Prime Minister's virulent and strident attitude raised serious suspicions of complicity and undermined cooperation between the two countries.
And this is going down the rabbit hole of military instability and something that we never want to hear or see in the Caribbean, right? Because Trinidad and Tobago, small island in the Caribbean, they for one don't have the military might of Venezuela. So the question is, why Trinidad knowing all of these things, Trinidad understanding all of these things, where are they getting this type of reassurance from that they could bolster and speak like that? Knowing us in the Caribbean, we know about diplomacy. Diplomacy first, diplomacy second, diplomacy third, and diplomacy fourth. That's why the Caribbean region has maintained a zone of peace for so many years. CARICOM, we don't see that type of things. Because we could talk to each other. We could communicate. We could isolate and de-escalate situation before we get to where we're fighting. We don't have that type of interaction in the region. So, my concern is that someone is giving Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister Carmela Persad-Becesa some sort of military assurance and protection that she feel and they feel that regardless of what happened, they could defend and will defend Trinidad and Tobago. I did some investigation and check into it, and I realized and I observe what some supporters of the Prime Minister's statement, what they are saying. Essentially, They're saying that Trinidad and Tobago, and the Prime Minister said so as well, Trinidad and Tobago stand firmly and strong with the United States of America. Marco Rubio speaking to the Prime Minister and giving them that type of reassurance that whatever happened, Trinidad and Tobago or the United States will defend and be there for Trinidad and Tobago. I heard another advocate for the administration speaking about this, and he said that the US claimed this area, so nothing or whatever happens in this area, the US will protect. I want to warn my Caribbean colleagues about any such statement by the United States and by this current administration. They don't like nobody. And America is not going to come here to save us or save anybody. America, right now, this administration, it's all about themselves. They don't like nobody. They don't care about nobody. Furthermore, let us look at what history has taught us now. Let's just pay attention to what history has taught us. America is just concerned about what they could get for themselves. These people and them don't care about us. They don't care about nobody. America would quickly and easily push for some kind of instability in the region so they could see how they could send their contractors, right? Their contractors inside of the region and see how they would benefit from it. So I don't want Trinidad and Tobago and folks from Trinidad and Tobago or any part of the Caribbean to feel like America is there to save, especially this particular administration. They don't care about nobody. We know about talking to each other. We don't need no war, because Trinidad and Tobago, as big and as great and as grand that they may feel right now by the reassurance of Marco Rubio and Donald Trump,
it would be a very bad day for the Venezuelan regime.
This would make the region unstable for everybody, because they all see us as a region. Jamaica, Trinidad, they all see us as a Caribbean region. And the United States, Europe, and all these source markets will be the first to jump up and say, no fly zone into these areas because of instability. And what is that going to do to our tourism product? And then saying, well, it's not happening in Grenada, or it's not happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, or it's not happening in Jamaica. It's happening in the Caribbean. And we all know how they see us. They clump us in together. So I'm begging the people who are pushing so the Prime Minister would continue this agitation. And I'm not saying her right is not to protect Trinidad and Tobago and the borders and the territories of Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago is a sovereign nation, and they should protect themselves. They should protect themselves and the territory. But, as I said earlier, we know about talking to each other. Diplomacy. That's what we do best in the Caribbean. We know about diplomacy. So whatever reassurance, whatever advice, or whatever the administration of the United States is trying to put into the minds of this administration in Trinidad and Tobago, I hope wise heads will prevail and they would sit with Venezuela, as in the last media briefing I saw from Venezuela.
The Venezuelan government said the appropriate course of action would have been cooperation and willingness to clarify the facts, not confrontation.
They're willing to sit and fix this problem, whether it's genuine or not. But I'm saying, we're hearing from Venezuela that this provocation cannot continue. They're neighbors. We all are neighbors in this little area here. So I'm calling and begging, please don't push and agitate this situation. Please don't push and make the situation worse.
Meanwhile, a leading voice in international relations slammed Pisarbisse's recent warning to Venezuela, calling her remarks intemperate, excessive, and dangerous for Trinidad and Tobago. In a response to questions from CNC3 News on Friday, Professor Anthony Bryan rebuked Pisarbisse's public warning directed to the Venezuelan president that TNT's territory is off limits and that any Venezuelan military vessel entering illegally would be met with deadly force.
The Caribbean would forever be changed if we have any kind of massive military enforcement in our region. So I'm begging. I want you guys to chime in on this. If you've been following this engagement, the back and forth, Trinidad and Venezuela, even Guyana is in the mix as well. But we're going to talk about Guyana situation another time. Comment at the bottom here. Let me know what you guys think about this.